So first of all, I'm going to tailor this a little bit more to Costa Mesa. However, if you'd like specific stats for your own city, let me know. In August, the average days on market for Costa Mesa was just 24 days. And I know everybody has been talking about how long places are sitting on the market. And yes, an average is just an average, but 24 days is very short. If you want to think back to December 2020, when the market was through the roof, the average days on market was 24 days. So take that into consideration. Also, right now, there's only 115 active listings in the whole city, or that was at least as of August. And back in 2020, there were 111. There's still, we're all saying that the inventory is so high, but have a little bit of perspective. It's still quite low because we all know how 2020 went. And then as of today, there are homes in Costa Mesa ranging up to $4 million. And if you look at the average sales price over the last 4 years, the average sales price has gone up about $400,000. That says a lot, especially considering where the interest rates are today compared to 2020. So I have so many thoughts on this, and this is going to segue really nicely into our guest today, Charlie Mercure of Merc Growth Consulting. Charlie!
Thank you.
So let's just start off with a simple question.
Yeah.
What is Merc Growth Consulting all about? Why is this a segue?
That's a beautiful question. And it's a consulting firm that is built around the relationships between real estate agents and contractors. Now, I come from a construction background, so my knowledge base is very much so there. The processes, the estimating, the pre-construction, everything that goes with construction, I have been involved with for many years. But as far as connecting the real estate side, I've been working with real estate agents for the past year now. I started my company in January of 2025, and things have been going great.
Good. Well, the reason I was saying that this is such a nice segue is with home prices being so high at the moment, a lot of buyers want the beautiful home, but they maybe can't afford it, or they don't want to get a loan and be spending that much more.
Sure.
But if they only had the means or the creativity or the vision to make a home,
Right.
to make a home that's not so pretty into one that's like their dream home, it's possible.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit more about how you can help people with that.
Well, if the scenario is the client is listing their home and they maybe don't have the budget to do like a full remodel or the necessary renovations in order to capitalize on the higher market value,
Yeah.
there's plenty of solutions out there for them. First, obviously, everyone knows a flip. So I can be a resource or point you in the right direction for a flip. You know, people that you can trust that aren't going to screw you over, that aren't going to grind your numbers down.
Yeah.
And you can actually make out with a decent amount of profit and turn the home over, and then they can, you know, do what they will with it. But there's other more creative construction loans that are out there as well. And if you're hesitant to do the loan with a loan company, there's also, I have investors in backing that we can do the construction loan on our own dime. So we pay out of pocket and we invest the construction value. It's a very secure way of doing it because I have full control in the contract and proposal on what the client makes, what the contractor makes, and the split on the profit on the end. It's not always a 50-50 split. There's variations depending on the value of the home and things of that nature. But for the most part, I mean, the resources are there. I just, for lack of better words, bridge the gap and let clients understand their options versus diving into something that maybe might not get them the most benefit for their home.
Well, sure, because I see this all the time. There's a lot of homeowners out there who maybe haven't done a lot of updating to their home over the years, and they want top dollar. They don't know how to get there.
Yeah. And I think also it's taking a strategic approach of what is going to bring that ROI. I think a big misconception and an issue in the industry is the cost analysis for home comps, maybe even appraisals. And I think there's definitely some gray areas there as well. So figuring out what in your home is going to bring you the most value, that's something that we strategically look into.
Yeah. And so let me ask you this.
Sure.
You're from Orange County, is that right?
That's correct.
So what area of Orange County?
I grew up in Foothill Ranch. It's, it kind of backs the Saddleback foothills and went to Dubuque Hills High School.
Sorry to get personal. Where do you live now?
I live in San Clemente.
Okay. So this is perfect. Two very different areas.
Yeah.
Foothill Ranch, a little bit more nature, woodsy, traditional.
Suburban. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
San Clemente, a little bit more beach vibes.
Absolutely.
Hustle, bustle,
Yeah.
all of those things. So in one area, it's very likely that doing the same thing to two different properties would have wildly different results.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, oftentimes in San Clemente, you're dealing with custom homes. There are tract homes and there are areas with tract homes. And then a lot of times in like Foothill Ranch or those suburban areas, it's all tract homes.
Yeah.
So there's limitations on the construction and what type of value you can put into the home.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more versatility in custom homes.
Yeah.
Older homes that haven't been touched in a while. I mean, that's kind of your ideal home that you want to go to market with, because if you have good, knowledgeable people supporting you, that's a real estate agent, investors, construction companies, you can actually maximize a massive amount of money that could potentially be left on the table.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because when you talk about tract homes, the values, it's a little bit more apples to apples.
Sure, yeah.
You know,
The comps are easier for sure.
The comps are easier, but they're
Yeah.
also more limiting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas, like I see this in East Side Costa Mesa, you could have two older cottages,
Yeah.
but the values could be more than $1 million apart.
Yeah.
Based on how they're refinished.
Yeah, tract homes is like bowling with the bumpers on still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like you're gonna hit some pins, but you're not necessarily going to be like maximizing it.
Yeah. So that's a really interesting concept. So
Yeah.
for sellers, what's really nice is that you can come in and help them understand and see these options, and also be like the conduit, the
Yeah.
person that helps them, instead of saying, okay, well, you know, a kitchen remodel would serve you well, go fly.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the biggest part of bridging the gap is the real estate agents obviously have their agenda, and, you know, hopefully it's a good agent who has their client's best interest in mind, but the contractors also have their own agenda, right? So you don't want to, you know, if a home is evaluated at 1.5 million and the top of market is 1.7, well, you can't really put too much construction value into it, because you're not going to get a really massive ROI, right?
Yeah.
You have a $200,000 spread. Maybe if you do some strategic upgrades here and there, new flooring, fresh paint, exterior, walk-up curb appeal type things,
Yeah.
like you're going to get way more bang for your buck than remodeling a kitchen.
Right.
Because then you're in the whole 30, 40, 50, 60,000, depending on the level.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes sometimes it's necessary to do some of these upgrades.
Sure.
Because the perceived value, even though it might cost you $100,000 to rip out a kitchen and put in a new one, you might deter so many buyers.
Right.
That could hurt you more.
Yeah.
Especially depending on time of year and everything.
Absolutely. And there's, I would say, so many different ways to look at it. Like, you don't even have to do a full reno. If you want to do like a kitchen refresh where we actually reface the cabinets, take the cabinets we take the doors off the cabinets, we paint the doors, make it look brand new, add new hinges. The boxes, I come from a cabinet world, so
Yeah.
architectural millwork. So the boxes are actually fine. You just paint them, give them a spruce, maybe new countertops. You look like you just did a full kitchen remodel. You get that value, but you saved $30,000 on redoing an entire kitchen, reformatting the layout, plumbing, all these different variations that add cost to the project that you don't really need if you're just trying to maximize value.
Yeah. So then let's talk a little bit about something you mentioned where you can come in with some creative options for the financing or the loans for the remodeling. Because half the reason people don't do the remodels is because they don't have the budget for it.
Right.
Or like they won't have that budget until after they sell the house.
Yeah.
So what are some options there?
Yeah, I think they're afraid to even get up the bat. They're just sitting on the bench. And that's kind of the pride and joy of my company. My bread and butter is doing a construction-backed equity partnership with my clients. So what that means is, and I did grace on this earlier, but instead of them paying out of pocket up front, we invest, let's call it a $1 million home. We invest $200,000 of construction in order to get it to a 1.5 sale. We invest that $200,000 of construction and don't get paid out on that until escrow. So first gets paid the equity of the home, $1 million. Whether they have money left on the home or not, doesn't matter where the mortgage is. The $1 million gets paid to them. And then after the construction value, we build out partnerships and plans and, proposals that make sense for the client, that is incentivizing for them to make a lot more money oftentimes than they would. Because then in that scenario right there, you have a $300,000.
Yeah.
Obviously, the contractor and the investor have to make their money on their investment outside of the profitability of the construction project. But I mean, these are ways that a client can literally do a zero out-of-pocket loan and still make a pretty dramatic ROI on that property.
So when you come in,
Sure.
Are they transferring title to you, or how does that work?
No. So they retain title, they retain ownership of the home. There is nothing, oftentimes in that scenario, particular scenario, we literally just come in with the construction backing. That's it. They own the home 100% outright. They, obviously built into the contract is they have to sell the home once it's done in order to pay back the construction loan in the lease or refinance or whatever the scenario is. The contractor cannot not get paid. So that's built into the contracts.
Okay. And how do you find the contractors?
So I worked in construction for about 7 or 8 years now. I'm on my 8th year. And I just developed a lot of relationships. I worked on the commercial side. I worked for architectural millwork companies and other contractors and basically just developed relationships. I was doing a lot of business development. So I was just talking to a lot of people, making friends, people who were starting their businesses, people who were pretty far along in their residential business. And I saw just a massive gap. There's a silo. Real estate agents and contractors kind of work in silos. When they do overlap, it's more of a transactional relationship versus building partnerships between them. And that's where I kind of fill that void. But from my commercial background, I networked. I met a lot of people.
Well, that's how we met.
Exactly. Networking. Exactly. So I think it's super important to understand that by building people up around you, you build yourself up. And I think sometimes those isolated industries don't really realize that.
Well, yeah, especially in the scenario that we're talking about here, where somebody's looking to sell their home, they need a contractor. They're also, working with a realtor. But how do you get all of those players to kind of dance together?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It has to be very cohesive. And I think the one thing I would recommend getting multiple bids for projects. That's pretty standard.
Yes.
And sometimes the homeowners can get in their own way. So having someone as a consultant come in with an objective point of view and just look at the numbers and say there's profitability here for XYZ and run that by the real estate agent. Everyone's on board before we start the plan, before we start the project. And then we go.
Yeah. No, that's really smart. And so is that something where you could suggest multiple contractors, or do they have to do some of that?
They can do whatever they want. Yeah, I have multiple contractors, obviously, so I'd be more than happy to make recommendations. But that can feel like it's coming from one source.
You
know what I mean? I have contractors of all different levels, right? Luxury homes on the coast all the way to your quick flip in, San Bernardino. So it doesn't really matter. For me, I'll bring in, whichever contractor I see fit for the project. If they want to go out and seek their own contractor, that's obviously.
We had a great designer on a month or so ago who also has some great recommendations.
Sure.
So that would be a good resource. So refer back to the Just Jones episode. But I think half the battle for people is just taking action.
And getting out of their own way too.
Out of your way, pick up the phone, go on Yelp, ask a friend.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people don't realize how much equity they have tied up in their homes and how much profitability they can get out of it.
Yeah. Now, on the other side of the coin, so for a home buyer, you can help them too, because I would imagine if somebody's coming in and buying a home, but they need help and resources managing a remodel project.
Definitely. Yeah.
I think what I wanted to touch upon a little bit is just the value of possibly buying a home for a discount, because it does need some love, needs some work. But then kind of holding their hand through the process, because they're too, they don't know what they don't know. They've never remodeled a home. Or they've heard the horror stories, because they're out there. And you can find horror stories for whatever you want. But people get in their own way, like you said.
Definitely. And buying a fixer-upper can be dangerous too. You don't know how much construction value. I would say come talk to me or a construction professional prior to buying that fixer-upper, because if you're just working with your real estate agent and they're like, you can get this home for a crazy good price, it's $800,000, but you don't know how much it's going to cost, you put all your eggs in one basket and you expect, the construction value to be 100,000 or 200,000, or you don't really know, then you end up upside down in the end anyway.
Yeah, there's definitely times when you'll see a property, and I'll see people walk in and ask the home inspector whether or not a wall is load bearing, and that's not really the home inspector's job to point it out.
Yeah.
They'll make a guess, but a lot of times people put a lot of faith and confidence into that guess, and then they're bit.
For sure, yeah. And I mean, definitely, to piggyback off your question, we definitely can help clients turn their home into a dream home.
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly what we want to be doing.
Yeah.
We love working with clients, picking out finishes. If we need to hire designers, we can absolutely do so. If we need architectural plans and it's a full remodel, that's something we can definitely do as well.
Yeah, so so we were just talking about regular remodels.
Yes.
I mean, how small do you go? How big do you go? Who can reach out to Charlie for any assistance?
That's a great question. Just because of the depth of my resources, I would say there is definitely no project too small. I do service projects all the time where I just send out my plumber.
Oh, that's so funny. I was literally thinking,
yeah, like if you're having trouble with your toilet, give me a call.
Yeah.
Because, in the end of the day, I know if my plumber comes out there buttoned up, dialed in, when you're thinking about that full reno, you're going to rely on me as a resource. And that's how I want to build my business. Trusted relationships and GCs or subcontractors showing up on time, being efficient, and getting the job done correctly for a fair price.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's good to be a resource.
Yeah. And then on the other side of it, at this point in my business, again, 8 to 9 months in here, I feel I have the capacity to do full ground up development projects.
Yeah.
So if there's a plot of land and you need a contractor that's going to take you through the processes of permitting, getting approvals through the city, grading the land all the way to laying slabs, I definitely have the resources for that as well.
Yeah. I know one of our friends was mentioning that they were looking for land or like tear down for land properties. Yeah. So they could start from ground zero.
People don't know, especially in the coastal areas, not people don't know, but a lot of what you're buying is the land. The land is a high value ticket on that property.
You ever looked at the tax bills and what the land is versus the property value?
Yeah. So, a lot of what you're doing is paying money for that land. So teardowns can be highly profitable as well.
Yeah. It's just that we live in an area where there's so little land. So
yeah,
if you have a really old house that just hasn't been tended for, then that's land value.
Yeah. I'm actually looking at a couple of those in San Clemente right now. They do have a lot of older homes there.
Yeah, and near the coast there does tend to be, because that was the area people were drawn to. Yeah. A lot of the older builds. What about your white glove service approach?
That's a great question. So when I build my partnerships with my real estate agents, I almost do an interview process. I try to get to know them, understand their business. Exactly, a consultation. I try to understand their customer base, so who they're talking to, how they're talking to it, how they're representing themselves, how they're branding themselves, and then I just replicate that. I become a tool in your toolbox. What looks better than saying, oh, I think I have a plumber here that could help you out, or I think I know a contractor that might be able to, or hey, I have Charlie, he's dialed in, he's my consultant, he's on staff basically with me, and he will take care of you from bottom to top to bottom, whatever you guys need.
I'm going to use that line moving forward, because people do need resources, reliable ones.
And it makes you as a real estate agent look like you have depth as well.
Yeah.
And that way also, at the same time, the white glove service is so important, because I don't charge real estate agents like a consulting fee or anything like that. All my business is pre-negotiated terms with my subcontractors and contractors on the back end.
Yeah.
So it's a free service. I come and support you as a real estate agent because I already know how hard that industry is. And you end up on individual projects being the project manager, the psychologist, the therapist, all these different things. And they lean on you for so many different resources. Having one resource that you can just feel very assured of, that's going to represent you and your brand and show up on time to meetings and meet your client and objectively help them find the right path and right solution for the project.
Well, and honestly, with all of the clients that we deal with as realtors, almost every single one has some sort of a need for a service or a remodel. Even the newest houses, people want to change,
For sure.
or the flips people need to fix.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's like no matter what you're buying, you're probably going to need somebody that Charlie has a contact for.
Definitely. I mean, I have clients all the time buying flips, and then on surface level, flips are oftentimes very, very cosmetic, right? And we both know that they're just putting makeup on a pig, pretty much. They're just brushing it over, doing paint, trying to do it quick, efficient. They have carrying costs. They don't want to hold the property for a very long time. Oftentimes when a client moves into a flip, they realize, even sometimes in the buying process in escrow, they realize how many different things they're going to have to do, how many new projects they're going to have to start on that home, that it's not move-in ready, it's not turnkey. And one of the things that my construction companies, especially obviously in the residential area, focus on is providing a true turnkey solution, not just putting makeup on a project, actually going into the nuances and understanding the market and the necessity for certain things in that market, and doing a true remodel versus doing a flip style remodel.
So Charlie, you're gonna have to start networking with all the home inspectors out there too. I feel like that's gonna be your other source of lead flow.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like, oh, you just tag along, be like, oh, did they say that wasn't working right?
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so many different fixes on projects, but
yeah. So would you consider yourself more or less an expert in what would maximize the ROI on a property?
Can you say that question again? I'm sorry.
Would you consider yourself basically an expert in what would help to maximize the ROI on a property?
I like to think, because I have such a good understanding of construction numbers and budgets, that I definitely find ways to maximize the ROI. I don't pretend to know everything about every market, so that's why I do lean on resources around me.
Yeah.
I think having a good team going into a project is absolutely crucial. But yeah, and I would say an expert in delegating.
That's hugely important.
Experts, yeah. Because I'm not going to pretend to be a real estate expert. I'm not licensed. I'm not a GC. I'm not licensed there either.
Yeah.
So I lean on my partners in the relationship, and I truly just bring them together.
Yeah.
And then provide a service that maybe the construction company's not bringing to the table. And that's a white glove service.
Yeah. Well, and looking at the numbers and everything is hugely important. And like, I think one other thing I wanted to touch upon before we wrap up is just the time element, because whether you're living in the house and need to get out for a remodel,
absolutely,
or it's a full-on gut before you move in and you're trying to budget for where am I going to stay in the
right.
I know you've got some other creative solutions up your sleeve for that, but
for sure.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and we're still building this portion out, but I know definitely in the luxury market, there's built into budgets on the contractor side is oftentimes putting people up in hotels. I have a creative solution that I'm working on is purchasing some Airbnbs and allowing clients to stay in like coastal homes like San Clemente, like coastal areas like San Clemente, Dana Point, and be able to remodel their home. Sometimes the remodel process, like it's construction. It's not easy. It's not fast. Sometimes it's 3, 4, 5 months, depending on the extent of the project.
Or longer.
A year. And permitting is quite a difficult process. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely solutions out there, and I definitely want to bring a lot of those into my business.
Well, I love that you're able to help people on small and large projects.
Yeah. I feel like I get my energy from helping clients, and I think you don't want to overlook the small ones, because you never know, in 10 years that could be the big one, and you know that in real estate.
Yeah, it's happened a time or two, and then you always just have to be grateful.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Well, you put in that effort 10 years ago, and now they're buying that $5-6 million home because they've elevated their life. Yeah,
well, and you help them.
Yeah.
You help them do that. Like,
and they remember that.
Yeah, everything that you're doing too is like, if you're helping them have a large return on investment, they're able to use that to get to the next stepping stone.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think that's part of what's so great about our area. You can do this in any market pretty much, but those markets are going to be, the results are going to be a lot different.
I think California is just kind of prime, especially the coastal area. It's best place to do it.
We're very, very fortunate.
We are.
So where can people find you?
Social media, Instagram, Merc Growth, or just email me. My email's on my website, charlie@mercgrowthconsulting.com.
Well, Charlie, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to everybody for watching the OC Pod, and thank you for Charlie being here and sharing all of his knowledge. You definitely want to go check him out. Meet with him. He is a cool guy. And if you love today's episode, make sure to follow, share it with a friend, tag somebody, so that more people can help find out what makes our area such a great place to live. Bye.